Anybody else get stuck in 285 traffic on their way up here? Yeah, I'm like driving along, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be there, I get about 15 minutes extra, and I was like, oh, stop. It did not go well. How many people here have never tried the water? That's good, so everybody's tried it. How many people have ever run into skeptics? How many have ever run into cynics? I was the defining end of the opponents. Anybody here read Dr. Mertola's report? All the stuff that says you shouldn't do it, all the dangers, all the good stuff. I could teach that. My name is Dr. Michael Donaldson. I am from, let's see if I can do this right. Oh, my lightsaber's broken. It is? There we go. I'm a chiropractor. I graduated from Life University back in 1996. Since then, all my continuing education has been in alternative care therapies. I do biofeedback. I've done bionetics, pioneered laser allergy protocols, pioneered emotional recalibrations, and all that great stuff. But the bottom line is, May 28th of 2009, I went to the school of hard knocks. My youngest child was born, and she had gastroesophageal short gut syndrome. You may wonder what that is. It's a problem that results in acute dehydration syndrome. Again, what does that mean? My daughter was born literally inside out. That tube, that sausagey looking stuff, is all of her intestines. When she came out, her stomach was hung up on the outside. Her small intestine, large intestine, pancreas, liver, spleen, bladder, right ovary, bowel, all on the outside. That was a bad day. And when you think it can't get worse, the following week the bowel ruptured in the tube, and she went in for emergency surgery, was on a colostomy for 8 weeks. She had 8 weeks of recovery after they did a reversal. This water affects us in ways that most people can't even imagine. Does anybody have anybody in their family that's seriously ill? Yeah, you don't go places, you don't go far. You stay on call. When you sleep, you don't sleep well. This is one of my other kids, Lexi. She's up for the best big sister in the world. She'd go to the hospital all day long. It's bad around her, plug in, but she'd stand there. My oldest at the time was Jacqueline, was the youngest girl to make the Olympic development team as a goalkeeper. She had to quit. So yeah, it affects a lot. When she started to get better, it looked like things were amazing. See how yellow the eyes are? That's the toxicity because the body can't clear out what's going on. Long story short, here's what acute dehydration syndrome looks like. You can go from this to this in 2 hours. When you walk into Scottish Rite and you call and said, I'm bringing in Skylar, she's in dehydration syndrome, the 30-minute drive to the hospital can kill her. You wake up and you have about a 2-hour window, and usually you don't notice it for the first 2 hours anyways. I had numerous times, I had all four emergency room doctors. I had all the nurses. I know of I can remember specifically 3 times where the only person left was the check-in nurse. And they were all in her room trying to get a quick line to get her hydrated. She spent a year at Scottish Rite. She had the colostomy, the reversal, she had a resection, they removed part of her intestine, they gave her another stoma. Then finally they put in what's called a Mickey button. That's this fancy thing right here. Goes right straight through the side of the stomach wall, right into the stomach. That's the way you get to do all kinds of great things, like force feeds 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just imagine what diapers are like if your child can't stop eating. And the thing fills up, it's just a constant, steady stream. Their theory was because of the poor ability to get nutrition and food into the intestines, we just get as much as we can and hope some sticks. Every morning was a nightmare because we didn't change the diaper every couple hours. It's coming down out of the crib, on the pillows, the stuffed animals, everything. After the first year at Scottish Rite, she had 100 hours a week of home health care. She had distension, Ever eat Italian food and you just kind of swell up and can't move? All day long, every day. Gas, cramping. My son Connor, who's here, would line his friends up outside the door because when she'd go to the bathroom and pass gas, it was the best thing for a 7-year-old boy. The smell, however, was horrific. She had C. diff, bacterial infections. She was on antibiotics, everything you can imagine. Amy is back there, bless her heart. She had the worst critic you can imagine as she walked into my office in October. We've argued, we've debated, we've bantered back and forth, and finally she came in, and I actually got the call from the doctor. And if there's one thing you don't want to do is get bad news concerning your children, second worst place would probably be laying on your chiropractor's table as he gets ready to adjust your neck and gets bad news about his child. So anyways, test results, failure to thrive, anemia, blood in the stool, and Amy types up and goes, Dr. Michael, Skylar doesn't have to suffer because you're too stubborn to try the water. Yeah, just lay there. I'm just going to, this may hurt a little bit. My answer to her was pretty simple. Fine, I'm done. I'm not going to argue anymore. I've showed you the stuff. You're wrong. Just bring me the water. I'll give it to Skylar. And we'll prove you wrong. We'll run the test next month. And then you have to promise to never talk to me about it again. Because as doctors, we have a lot of people that think that they've got the next best, greatest thing. You have to understand that we were doing a lot of things. In 4 days, the distension was gone. The gas was gone. The cramping is gone. 10 days later, I'm shaving in the mirror. And I hear her scream. And to this day, if she does that scream, it just, everything in me stops. And I run into the bathroom and she said, there's a snake in the body. It was the first time she'd seen solid poop. Amy, we need a machine. I think the first day, 4 days, I called her up to get a refill. I was like, yes, Dr. Michael, I'm having crow for breakfast and I need some water to rub it down. It shouldn't have worked. And I'll explain why it shouldn't have worked. And I'll explain to you why it did work. That's Skylar Dad. Oh my God. 6 months in the water, we removed the button that she had for her. We gave it to Amy at the, whatever the next meeting or two was. So, why water? I'm a physician. I can tell you intricacy is a great thing, but the bottom line is everything that you do adds up to 28%. The other 72% of the patient is just water. It's not magic water. It's not this great. It's water. What we've just discussed and what you've just seen is not a cure. What I'm showing you may seem like a miracle. It's not. It's basic science. There's a really good chance that if you take this to someone you love, it can save their lives. But if they don't make healthy choices, they don't change their lifestyle, the benefits will be short-lived. It's just a fact. The simple answer to this is the best water that you can deal with to get that 72% of your body to work with. It facilitates nutrition, detoxification, energy, health, healing. Imagine, if you will, that your body is a fish tank. As long as you take really good care of it, you don't have a problem. If you asked anybody that owned that particular fish tank if they would mind if you put a 12-ounce can of Sprite in that water. Why is everybody laughing? Because we all know that you'd end up with this. The reality is this, your body is a self-contained saltwater aquarium with microorganisms, bacteria, all that good stuff. If you don't take care of it, you could literally look like that on the inside. So how do you clean that up in the human body? It's called cellular respiration. It's a process by which oxygen and nutrition gets into the cell. CO2 and toxins are eliminated from the cell. We're going to run with some biochemistry real fast because everybody is thrilled with that answer, I'm sure. What I want you to talk about right here is, you see all these H's? Oh, wait a second. Oh, here, that's not what I took back. These H's right here are going to be really important in a minute. But the bottom line is, you'll see that the mitochondria mitigates and manages aerobic activity. If the mitochondria shuts down, it's an unhealthy cell, becomes anaerobic, it can lead to all sorts of health conditions, disorders, things like that. Cancers, rumors, tumors, isms, and all that. Recently, after I graduated from school, so this wasn't even really discussed 16 years ago, aquaporins. They are these little high-speed watering gates. You'll see that the water molecules line up single file. Everything else is hydrophobic, hydrophilic. Basically, the reason being is you can't get water into the bowel. That was the issue with Skylar. Until it gets all the way to the bowel, and if the bowel shuts down, you can't hydrate. It's the way that it works. So, what does the aquaporin mean? They're a plumbing system for the cell. Basically, they're a high-speed mechanism to get water, nutrition, and toxins, junk, CO2 out. You see where it says right here, they are completely impermeable to charged species such as protons, blah, 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 blah. Electrochemical potential. As we go in and we show you why the water separates and makes the hydrogen, you'll find out that that gets stuck in the cell membrane and energizes the cell. That's what hydrogen does. Hydrogen generators and cars and all the nifty gadgets, that's how it works in your body. Your body works like a jellyfish. The cells pulse. They bring nutrition and stuff in as they're transported through the medium. So if you look over here, my super fancy cell, there's a little bit of hemoglobin in there. That's kind of the charge of the cell. That represents the aquaporin. Your heart beats and so do your cells. They excrete toxins and CO2s. Anybody here had an MRI? There we go. Click, click, click. Your cells are fluxing, and the computer's generating an image from that. So right now, there's a concept called microclustering. As an accurate term, it explains the concept. As a reality, every biochemist in the world will deny it simply because it's not a chemical bond, it's an electrostatic charge that holds the molecules together. What do I mean by that? Think of a cluster of grapes. See how they're all stuck together? If I wanted to get them in this bottle, how would I do it? Just mash them in there? Could I pulse the bucket a little bit and see if it would suck one in? Now you can pull them all off and drop them in the bucket, right? That's how the water works. When that happens, anybody here, you can't break hydrogen molecule off water. That's not possible. Well, it's actually a technical term called the disassociation of water. What that means is, when you put so much energy into a water molecule in water, it'll actually cause some of them to rupture. Water has an electromagnetic bond that creates the link. Too much energy and it breaks off. That creates a hydroxyl group and a hydrogen group. We've already discussed how that hangs up in a cell. You can get into, when you add the hydroxyl, that's going to change your pH. It's no more complicated than that. We can get as fancy as we want, but the bottom line is it gives you antioxidants and hydrogen. Rust and iron in an acidic environment will rust or oxidize. Where do we have iron in the human body? Blood, yes. The other thing is brain. I gave you the answers. Where do we have? Open book test and everybody can.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Lungs, lymphatics, bones, because that's the means that which oxygen and CO2 is exchanged in the body. In short, if you have a highly acidic environment that's highly oxidative stress, you could have oxidized hemoglobin in the system. That alone will give you a serious level of cellular toxicity. A healthy and an unhealthy cellular metabolism. I kind of briefly touched on this. The mitochondria is involved with aerobic activity. A healthy cell mainly generates energy from the oxidative breakdown of pyruvate, which is then oxidized within the mitochondria. That's a big fancy term for saying the cell is working right. If you don't have enough oxygen, or you have a sick cell, the mitochondria gets shut down. And it shortens the system. You generate an unhealthy cell, type of cancer cells, any type of other unhealthy cell, generate energy by the non-oxidative breakdown of glucose called glycolysis. same thing that diabetes does. Short circuits the system. All those different processes go to an anaerobic state. They don't use the oxygen. All normal cells require oxygen. Fancy cells do not. Deprive a healthy cell of 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours, and it becomes so damaged to the point that it's dangerous. It means that it becomes